Okay, it's December 5th, 7 o'clock. We'll call to order the City of Brainerd Personnel and Finance Committee meeting, and we'll start with introductions.
Alderman at Large Kevin Stunek.
Connie Hillman, City Finance Director.
Jennifer Bergman, City Administrator.
Tiffany Stingline, Ward 3.
I'm Mary Cole.
Paul Scogan, Chairman of the Water Tower Committee.
Teresa Burke, Brainerd Dispatch.
James Gromvick, Community Development Director.
Mike Bestel, Police Chief.
And Gabe Johnson, Chair of the committee. We have, not a grippy thing, but now we do. We have 6 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is the approved animal control enforcement contract for calendar years 2023 through 2026. Connie?
So our current agreement with Lakes Area Wildlife Control expires December 31st, 2022. Staff reached out to the owner, Michael O'Brien, who proposed an increase of 3% each year for calendar years 2023 through 2025. We did have our city attorney suggested some modifications to the existing contract, and the insurance section was also reviewed by Weisninger Engel and was also updated. Mr. O'Brien agreed to all the suggested revisions in the contract. So if council does not want to approve the agreement, they would need to direct staff to issue an RFP for animal control enforcement services.
Are we happy with that, man? So is this one on Baxter too?
Baxter is.
Okay. Then I would make a motion to approve the attached proposed animal enforcement control agreement with Lakes Area Wildlife Control and authorize signatures on the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. That was really my only question, is if the police department's happy with him. And if we are, so here's the second question. This $36,912 is 1 year 2023 budget. It'll be 3% higher in 24 and 3% after that in 25.
Correct. Correct. And just to provide clarification, the city does not go in with Baxter and Nisswa for animal control services. This is just the city's agreement for animal control.
No, Baxter has their own agreement.
You're thinking of the prosecution service agreement?
What
where
we
this
did
is just alone.
with Daryl, was that the last one? I think we've worked together with cities on that
Don
too.
Harris.
Yeah,
Oh,
Don,
okay.
yeah. But
Okay.
now we just have,
But this is just our own contract.
okay. Any other discussion, any other clarification? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is consider amending the ARPA budget for historic water tower preservation. Paul and Connie.
I'll let Mr. Scogan start.
Is that
Well-
a new shirt or is that from the last time we saved it?
This is the one I bought for us,
Okay.
for me. If anybody wants them, I can get them one. So anyway, as we all know, the new roof on the water tower is 95% complete. All that remains is we got grouting of the columns at the base of the water tower. We got some minor cleanup inside of the water tower base and the bowl, and the paint touch-up of green and person's law office. We had some minor damage there, but we're taking care of that. But due to the difficulty of the construction and increased construction costs for the roof, as we all know, grants from the State Historical Society, matching grants from the City of Brainerd, and the $6,914 from the community fund for the water tower, we have completed the portion, phase 1 of the renovation of the water tower. The Citizens Committee to Preserve the Water Tower is asking the City Council to allocate $200,000 of the American Rescue Plan Act funding to complete phase 1 of the water tower, which includes the approximate cost of the renovation is $115,000 for 12 windows, which includes refurbishing and reinstalling the existing wood sashes, providing new wood if needed, disassembly of the windows, new windows as needed, wood repairs, frame repairs, take the window out and a brand new window put in, and painting and new hardware, and that's approximately $115,000. And a big cost of that is the scaffolding that has to go inside that structure once, if we get the allocation, we gotta go forward with that. And the other cost is about $85,000 to repair and repaint the inside metal staircase. The stairs and the windows are over 100 years old, and they are deteriorating. And if you were in the tower, you looked at all that stuff, you can see rust on the stairs, you can see rain leaking through the windows, and they're in need of repair. We have finished the roof, so the water tower is not going anywhere. The water tower is structurally sound from the base on up. Obviously, we got the stucco to repair on the exterior, but that is part of phase 2. Phase 1 is what we're working on to get done. So these 2 items would complete phase 1. And I've talked to Jesse, who is the city engineer and public works director. If we get the appropriations with us and with the city, we can negotiate the contracts. We can send out for proposals, all within the city. We do not need the Historical Society. We do not need LHB. The plans are done. We know what we have to do. We have the specifications. So it's just a matter of getting the appropriations, working with the city to get the funding, to get the contracts and the project done by the fall of 2023.
So would this be a change order to the existing contract?
This would be a separate contract altogether.
This would be bid out?
Yes, this would be bid out to local glass companies, local painters to get the project done.
How many windows did you say, Paul?
There's 12 windows.
For $100,000? I only paid a few $100 a pop when I replaced mine.
It's yours. Well, it's approximately $35,000 to set up scaffolding inside that water tower to get the project done. And then you've got to take the windows out, historically refurbish these windows. Because the tower is on the National Register, we have to follow the guidelines by the Park Service, and that costs money. Where we might be able to save money is we do not have, if we work with the city to get the contracts out, we do not have a contractor taking X amount of dollars, or contingencies, or whatever else. So we could save money that way. We may not need the full 200,000, but it would be nice to have it in case it's needed, if needed.
Okay, any questions or comments?
So we did put together this column number 2. We did put in the 200,000, just so you know, if you would allocate the whole 200,000, that's the amount of ARPA funds we would have left over.
Well, it doesn't sound like it'd be very reasonable to allocate less than 200,000 if that's what we estimate to need.
I've supported the water tower from day one. The roof is fixed. You just made the comment, it's not going anywhere.
Correct.
I hate to leave a project unfinished, so I would support this totally.
Okay, well, I will make the motion to authorize up to $200,000 of our ARPA funds for the completion of phase 1 of the historic water tower preservation project.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just say I remember when we went out to, or when we awarded the contract on the roof, there was council discussion wondering why we didn't prioritize the stairs and windows and have all of that in there in the first place, because those were pretty rough shape. So it's good that we're getting it done and that we have the ARPA funds available to be able to do it without raising the levy dollars, taxes on the citizens. But, yeah.
That's pretty much it. Any questions? We do appreciate the support. The tower's not going anywhere. It is a symbol of Brainerd. People have supported us big time. And, so it's nice to see that the tower is gonna be there forever. Our next phase is for us to work on the exterior stucco. And as a committee, we are working on that, so.
All right, and that's gonna be a bigger ticket item, I imagine.
Yes.
But we'll get there when
We'll get there
we're
when we
there.
get there.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion on the 200,000 of ARPA funds, up to 200 for the water tower completion of phase 1? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Geez, Connie, we're gonna use the full 30 minutes.
Woo-hoo!
Next up is authorization to enter in agreements with CLA for the 2022 audit services. Connie.
So back at September 6th, council meeting, we shared an email from Clifton Larson Allen saying that we could expect a 10 to 15% increase in our audit fee plus fees for implementation of GASB 87, which is the leaf standard. At that time, we decided to stay with CLA for the 2022 audit services, and we have received the engagement letters, which is a 12.3% increase over what we paid for 2021 audit services. However, the city won't absorb that whole increase because some of it does get allocated to the airport as well. So that 12.3 includes the amount that will be paid for by the airport. The other thing is, speaking with the auditors in implementation of GASB 87, they may have some software that we can use, and so we could possibly purchase at a lower amount than what we had initially put in the budget as well. So we'll work on that as well. But the suggestion or recommendation is to authorize signature on the engagement letters for the 2022 audit services.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is adopt a resolution reassessing nuisance assessment PID 413-00743 and 411-91352. Connie.
Correct, so the first one, PID 413-00743, which has an address of 1712 Laurel Street. After the resolution was adopted, we received notice that the 625 was for a property owner that was sold between the time that the citations were issued and when they became assessments. And then PID 411-91352, which has the address of 501 G Street Northeast. The homeowner contacted staff after the resolution was adopted by council. And when staff reviewed the assessment of $125, it was a situation that staff would have recommended to council to have waived based on the homeowner working with staff to be able to eliminate the tall grass citation. And speaking with our city attorney, the only way you can reduce the assessments is per Minnesota statute 429-071 subdivision 2, which basically you start the process all over again. You reassess, you have a public hearing to change them from $625 to $0 and from $125 to $0. So therefore, we're asking you to adopt the attached resolution calling for the declaring the cost to be reassessed, ordering preparation of proposed reassessment, ordering a public hearing on the December 19th. And then, so the $625 in the alternative options and effects and others comments really kind of explained how this was not included as part of the assessment search when this property was going to be sold. Basically, it's not an assessment until the council says it's an assessment. So staff would also get direction from council to send the former owner of that property of the 1712 Laurel Street to see if we can attempt collection. The other thing, we could go to small claims, but it's probably not worth that in the end, but at least we could send a letter and see if the homeowner would be willing to pay the $625 fee.
I will move the recommended action.
Adopt the resolution and send a letter, that's basically.
Okay, I'll second that.
I've been thinking about this, and it's $750, which is, it's a good chunk of money, you know, to any individual person. To a city, it's not that big of a chunk of money. Like, do we have to go through this whole process of the public hearings and all that? Can't we just pay a citizen $625?
Well, we wouldn't be paying the citizen.
No, that's not what,
reimburse.
can we legally leave the assessment there and just give them $625 and say, sorry about that, here you go?
That would be a question for Joe.
That would take a lot less of my time.
I don't know if you do that legally. I'm not,
It
I
feels
don't
a
know
little
if we can.
weird.
I don't think you can.
Well, it's a little weird that we're in this situation that we now have to open everything back up and do it all over again for the third time. Maybe we can get it all right the first
I
time.
think it's worth the question, but I think legality-wise, you're gonna have to go through this myself. But I'm not joking.
Because even when you look at the state statute, it says if you have deemed.
I don't care about the assessment, I care about the $750. The end difference is $750, right?
That the city erroneously put on somebody's tax rolls.
Yeah. And we just give them $750, call it a day.
Would be $625 and Yeah.
That is what it would be.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go through this whole public hearing process for a third time this year. Is there any other discussion?
Can we tap the brake until we ask Joe?
And Joe, like, literally just, he's gonna be coming back here in
It would save us a lot
30
of
seconds.
stuff.
Because I understand the concerns, like if we give them the money, that's still gonna be on their taxes and they're gonna complain because they don't think it should have been on their taxes and they wasted the money on Pop-Tarts and Pabst Blue Ribbon, right? But ultimately, if we just give them the money,
We're good.
our conscience is clear. But, I don't know.
Well, that's what I say, is if there's any way we could tap the brake till we
Look.
consult Joe, that would save us some time and effort, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose we can go bring this motion upstairs and we can ask Joe upstairs if that's legal. I know it doesn't get rid of the assessment, I'm not talking about the assessments though, if you guys understand.
I hear
that. Okay.
I would assume we'd take it upstairs.
Okay, so let's take this motion upstairs, we'll vote on it here, but then we will make sure to get Joe tell us that it's illegal to give a citizen $125 upstairs. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Oh,
It just seems cleaner to me.
that was another 4 minutes on that one.
Oh, and here comes Mr. Lingle if you want us to stop him.
No, we got this
Okay.
city code discussion, Chief Bestel and Community Development Director.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I think I'm gonna kick us off on this.
It's presented by Bestel.
It is, but I thought I would kick it off if that's all right with you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you can be the presenter.
All right, thank you very much. So the council did discuss the codification back at their workshop on the 24th. The council discussed having staff look into the initial cost and the annual hosting fee to be reviewed by PNF. Staff did research the companies who assist cities with their city codes and determine the estimated cost to do this would be approximately $15,000 to $20,000. The cost was included in the preliminary budget, and at the budget workshop last week, staff was advised to bring this back to Personnel and Finance for approval before including it in the 2023 budget. We've talked internally and are recommending updating the city code for several reasons. One, it needs to be updated because of the updating of the employee policy manual as well as the charter. I did provide just one section of the code for your reference there. There are also several sections in the city code that are conflicting or contradict other sections of the code. A new code would be much more user-friendly, both for staff and for public. We've checked other cities that have codes by either a company like MuniCode or American Legal Services, and it's just really easy to kind of maneuver your way around it and find things. And then the last one is if we did do this, the code would be housed with that company, and then that would ensure that it's consistently updated when ordinances are passed. I did include a link to our city code in here as well. James Crombeck and Chief Bestel are both here to share any examples you may have. I know the two of them have struggled a bit with the city code. If there's any examples you want from staff, we'd be happy to share more if you would like more.
And I think I'll just add, besides the charter and the new employee policy, we've also updated the rental code as well as the property maintenance code as well as the zoning code. So with that, there are potential things that are redundant in there. We also updated section 320 of the administrative citations. So when you do go through it, there's a number of things that from time to time I think I included in that'd be the last page of this one. It'll just omit it from ordinance, whatever it was passed with. So you'll just click on it and nothing will be there essentially. So for example, swimming pools, that was in the zoning code. So as the years have progressed and there's been a number of things that have been either added, omitted, there's certainly issues when you are trying to search for things. And I'll kind of give an example from the zoning code when we did update that. Part of that process was, not only looking at our different districts, but a big part of it was organizing things. We have heard good things from some of our engineering consultants when they have had to look through things in our zoning code. They said, it's great that, you have it this way. You're taking out the redundancies. It's been easy to look for things. It's been user-friendly. So it'd be a similar type situation with the city code. Not so much of reinventing it and looking at new things, but just organizing things and making sure there aren't redundancies.
Yeah, and I can speak to it, Mr. Chair. you know, we only deal with chapter 9, 10, and 20 primarily, but those come in as a consequence, is that probably court time and fees and fines that are coming through that. Just a couple things, for example, loitering, we have that on our books. Well, our city prosecutor will not charge loitering out as it is written today. So it's so you have a citizen comes out and says, hey, there's more than 3 people downtown in a spot and they're loitering apparent to your code. It's in your code, enforce the code. Well, we can go down there, but it's gonna be dismissed by the court because the court doesn't recognize our loitering. We've written them numerous times and they said, stop writing this loitering ordinance, for one example. So a lot of the stuff is when the public is calling, they're asking for questions. Well, go to the website, go to the code, and that's where it's at. Well, it's challenging at numerous times for just our officers to be able to go in and index it to try to find something that you're looking for. So I like the codification just for that. The ease for the public to understand exactly when we say something, this is the interpretation, and now we can go to enforce them. We use something similar at the PD called Lexipol for our policy, where I like the host is you don't have to rewrite the whole thing. You can go in and say, if a state statute's been updated or we want to update the ordinance, it's very easily done. You put out the update and it just goes that quick as opposed to having to rewrite it. So I find that anytime that you can be open with the public, staff understands it, it's very clear, the expectations, and it's easy to find, is very beneficial. So it's not to say that you can't do it. I mean, we can't continue using ours, we can, but can it be better? The answer is I would say yes.
Okay, so we could do it ourselves, you're saying?
Well, I think that you can. I think that, I don't know who's gonna, for example, when I did the T21 update for the ordinance, the amount of time that it took to get that done for staff time, that was an incredible amount of time. Now, this speeds up that process. I look at, in the long run, the efficiency of it is that it's down the road, it will be much better for the city. Much better for if we have to make a change to something, especially if it's dealing with state statutes. State statutes get updated, and this system should be able to go, hey, we have brand new state statute, it's gonna affect ABC ordinance, you need to get this thing updated ASAP. They usually give you 3 to 4 months prior to the enactment of the state statute, but they give you enough time to go, oh, we have to do something as a city, we have to update to make sure we're in compliance with state statute if we have some. In numerous ones of ours, we have similar type of ordinances to state statute. So we have our own disorderly conduct, we have one for ordinance, one under state statute. Purposeful in different places of how the city wants to govern within our organization. We can't be more lenient than state statute, but we surely can be more restrictive. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of those purposes, but we still have to be in compliance with a state statute or similar to that, just so we protect our interests as well.
Okay.
Just some of the examples.
Yep, that makes sense from the policing point of view, but I just it's tough sell for me when we have this huge lawsuit to settle to outsource what could be done with the current staff that we have and pay, right? Like, I think when we find something that's messed up, we should fix it instead of just let it all compound and then say, oh gosh, we need to outsource all of our work to somebody else because we've let so much stuff get away. So I'm opposed to this, but I'm ready to take it.
Can we fix it internally?
We could. I think that it would be an enormous amount of work. I think there have been ordinances, updates for probably over 10 years could we? Yeah, I think it would take.
So, but would that be cost effective versus what this is?
I would say this would be much more cost effective, having it outsourced to do it. And I think the additional benefit is that it is hosted by somebody who's going to be updating it for us. I think that's what Chief Bestel was also referencing when it comes to like Lexipol.
Right, but that's not even, you're not even letting us know what the annual hosting fees are gonna be in this proposal. You're just telling us that it's going to happen without a dollar amount.
Mr. Chair, if it's approved in the budget, then what we would do is we would go do requests for proposals. We would bring those requests for proposals back to you. We wouldn't just enter into an agreement with somebody. We'd bring it back to you for your review, which would clearly lay out what the cost is for the codification, the hosting, the ongoing costs.
Right, and that's what we would need to know in the budget. It's gonna be 20,000 up front and $10,000 a year in perpetuity would be something we'd need to budget.
So what if we would budget now and then we decide when we come in, we say, nope, this is too much, we don't do it.
Yeah, I don't think it should have been in the budget. I think this is another error that was made where we did not follow the city charter and we just added something to the budget without it being
I would like to
approved.
say that this was perfectly called out in both the meeting with the PNF chair and council president, as well in the memo to council before the first workshop, as well as called out in the workshop on the very first one that we had in August as well.
Okay, we've got less than 5 minutes and
I'll make a motion.
a longer discussion.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to move forward with the codification process by developing an RFP to solicit proposals in the early 2023 to be approved by council and keep the $20,000 in the 2023 budget as presented. I want to ask, and then can I add that the RFP specifically come back to us to oversee?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to authorize the recommended action, but bringing the RFPs back to the council.
And
to
that's
oversee.
exactly what it says in the recommended motion to be approved by council.
Yep. I just wanted to make the comment, whether it's in motion or not.
Yeah, I mean, just try to make it as clear as we can so you guys can do your best work, right?
We sure will. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up is the non-working funds. Connie, we don't have much time.
All right,
Get to
I-
the high points.
I will. Transit is
You can't be
operating.
late, they'll chastise us up there.
Yeah, I know.
Is operating as a budget or is operating as a deficit. This will be something that the TAC looks at because the grants and the ridership are not covering the expenses. The library fund is a balanced budget for 2023, and this was approved at the library board at November 30th. The recycling fund, we pay for the dumpster as well as we have to pay for the recycling of the filters and the oil, and we have been transferring $1,500 from the storm sewer fund since 2021, and that's how we're getting to a balanced budget. The city parking lot funds, this reflects the new rates that the council implemented in April of 2022. The permanent improvement fund is at a 6% of the previous year's levy. It can go up to 9%, and the funds are transferred into the construction fund. The mayor's contingency fund is no longer in the charter, but it's still a policy. We have the mayor's contingency fund policy. Anything that the mayor does not spend promoting the best interests of the city are transferred back to the general fund at the end of the year. When we look at the EDA budget, this should say professional services, not personnel services. All the agreements in 2022, the EDA hired consultants to perform certain activities on behalf of the EDA. The agreements for services have not all been approved by the EDA, therefore the board's motion was to include the difference in miscellaneous as proposed budget balance for 2023. Sanitary and storm sewer are a different accounting method. Basically, we have the repairs and maintenance budget in here. You can see that we have depreciation, which we don't budget for in the other funds. We have the repairs and maintenance according to the 5-year capital plan. The storm sewer fund is where I would like to focus the rest of our attention on.
1 minute.
Just mainly because with the MS4 permit that has been reissued in 2026 has many new and more stringent requirements. Brainerd and Baxter are both currently using HR Green to assist entities with updating their programs. Conversations have been had, it would be beneficial for both cities to share an MS4 permit employee. The current budget does not include any arrangements, as many details will be worked out in the future. My question is, when we do our rate study, do we want something in our 2023 budget for that purpose?
Where are we at in our conversations with Baxter on a shared employee? Is this something we would pull the trigger on in 2023, or would it potentially be 24?
It would be 2023 in speaking with the city engineer.
So I would put probably, count on half a year in the budget for the rate study, if we think we're gonna be trying to hire an
So
employee.
$50,000,
Is that half of an employee for half a
it's
year?
probably a little bit more, but
Yeah, I'd put that in for the rate study, just
Well, let's
if
do
we know
up
we're
to-
getting
Up
into.
to 50.
Up to 50,
up to
yeah.
50,000, and I'll put it in professional services for now, just because we don't have any idea when for sure or what. Okay, that's what I need to know.
Right, thank you, Kelly. And we don't do a motion on this, right?
Nope, you can just discuss but I think we should put a motion to have the $50,000 added to the. storm
Okay,
sewer.
I'll make that motion up in full
Thank
committee.
you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we're adjourned.
Second.
Huh? Oopsie.